There's a moment in every believer's life when the noise quiets, when the titles don't matter, when the work we've done, all of it, stands before God. And in that moment, there's only one thing that will matter. Not how busy we were, not how gifted we were, not how much we accomplished, but whether any of it was done in love. Because scripture is clear. You can build a house and still labor in vain. You can speak with power and still gain nothing. You can call him Lord and still miss his will. So today, I want to revisit a truth that cuts through the noise and brings us back to the center. The kind of work heaven recognizes, the kind of obedience that grows from relationship, the kind of service that carries eternal weight, a labor of love. Welcome back to By What Authority. Today's episode is titled Labor of Love. This teaching invites us to slow down, to examine the heart behind our work, and to rediscover what it means to serve God from a place of love rather than pressure. We're going to walk through scripture together. Psalms 127, 1 Corinthians 13, and the words of Jesus in Matthew 7, and explore how grace, love, and obedience shape a life that truly honors Him. Let's settle in and open our hearts as we step into this reflection. In the spiritual teaching of the labor of love, we learn that true service is never a self driven effort. It is a work of the heart, motivated by divine love and empowered by God's grace. Matthew 7:21, Psalms 127, 1, and Paul's words in 1 Corinthians 13 all point us toward the same truth. A life built on authentic love for God and others is the life that ultimately hears, "Well done, my good and faithful servant." Psalms 127, verse 1, gives us the foundation. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. That verse reminds us that a spiritual life built purely on human effort, even sincere effort, is ultimately futile. We are tempted to carry everything ourselves, to push, to strive, to make things happen. But Scripture tells us that our labor begins not with our strength, but with dependence. God is the builder, God is the architect, and without Him, even our best work collapses under its own weight. Yet the psalm doesn't dismiss human effort, it acknowledges that the builders still build and the watchmen still watch. The point is not inactivity, it's partnership. Our work matters, but it only finds meaning when God is involved. His presence is what gives purpose to our labor. His guidance is what gives direction. His blessing is what gives permanence. A labor of love begins with surrender, not striving. Paul then takes us deeper by addressing the motivation behind our work. In 1 Corinthians 13, he makes it painfully clear that even the most impressive spiritual actions are meaningless without love. You can speak with the tongues of angels, understand mysteries, give everything away, even sacrifice your life, and still gain nothing if love isn't the motive. Without love, our work becomes noise. Without love, our service becomes performance. Without love, our sacrifice becomes self promotion. Paul describes love not as a feeling, but as a way of being: patient, kind, humble, truthful, selfless. This is the love that transforms our labor. It's the visible fruit of a transformed life, the mark of a disciple, Love is what distinguishes kingdom work from human effort. Love is what turns ordinary tasks into worship. Love is what makes our labor eternal. Then Jesus brings the sovereign clarity in Matthew 7:21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father. These words remind us that outward displays of spirituality are not enough. Religious language is not enough. Even miraculous works are not enough. The question is not, what did you do, but were you aligned with the Father's will? True obedience flows from relationship. True faith produces fruit, and the Father's will is not an impossible standard. It is a life shaped by love, expressed in action, and rooted in humility. Jesus isn't warning us to fear our salvation. He's calling us to examine our motives, to ask whether our work is driven by love or by something else, to make sure our obedience is genuine, not performative. A labor of love is obedience that grows out of a relationship, not obligation. And then we come to the promise, the moment every believer longs for. In the parable of the talents, the master returns and commends the faithful servants. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Notice that the phrase is not for success, but for faithfulness, not for results, but for trust. The servants didn't earn the master's joy by producing a certain amount. They honored him by stewarding what he gave them with love and diligence. The third servant wasn't condemned for failing to produce, he was condemned for failing to trust. His view of the master was distorted, and fear always leads to burying what God has placed in our hands. But the faithful servants stepped into partnership. They worked with what they had. They trusted the master's heart, and they entered into his joy. That's the reward of a labor of love, joy, not burnout, not anxiety, not pressure, joy. So, what does this mean for us today? It means surrendering our will and acknowledging that we cannot build anything lasting on our own. It means starting each day by inviting God to guide our work. It means loving with intention, serving others with patience, kindness, and humility. It means examining our fruit, not to condemn ourselves, but to stay aligned with the Father's heart. Our work is not about perfection, it's about faithfulness. It's about responding to God's love with love. And when we live this way, when our labor is shaped by grace, motivated by love, and expressed through obedience, we can look forward to that moment with confidence, the moment when the Lord welcomes us into his joy and says, Well done, my good and faithful servant. Thank you for joining me for this episode of By What Authority. My prayer is that this reminder stays with you, that your work, your service, and even the hidden parts of your life would be shaped by love, anchored in grace, and aligned with the Father's will. That that's the labor he blesses. That's the labor that lasts. Until next time, walk faithfully, stay surrendered, and let everything you do be a labor of love.